The Central Club.
Do you ever get sweet tooth or just fancy a treat? Or maybe you're just on the munchies? I know I do. Go and check the local Boss Man bringing you global flavours at Boss Man Sweets and Treats at Kylian Road, Newport, MP19. Also available online and coming to a store in Cardiff very, very soon. Do you need a work uniform? Want to start a clothing brand? Or maybe you have a football kit that needs a logo printed? Well, if I was you, I'd get in touch with the Re-Inspire Printing Company down Treforest Industrial Estate for the finest printing and embroidery in Wales. I use them for my custom-made mankini, but you could use them for t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and many, many other things. What's going on, people? Welcome to the Central Club. This episode is brought to you by Re-Inspire Clothing and Boss Man Sweets. Today I think it's the second female we've had on. I'm so blessed and grateful to have her down. She's been like a mother to me this past year. And for those who don't know this woman, she's head of operations for Gwent Drug and Alcohol Services. But before those accomplishments, your life was very contrast and it was chaotic, you could say tragic, and very reminiscent of my own. I think this story needs sharing, so let's get into it. Rondine Molinaro.
Hello, hi, thanks for having me on.
Welcome on.
How's things?
Yeah, not bad, good.
Yeah?
Didn't get lost coming to Cardiff, which is always a plus.
You don't come to Cardiff much, then, obviously.
No.
Where did you travel down from?
Newport,
Okay, yeah. So
the metropolis
pretty straight.
that is Newport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find there's a big difference between Cardiff and Newport?
Huge.
Yeah, it is.
Cardiff's beautiful.
It's not very nice to talk about Newport like
There's
that.
a few
I
nice
love
places
Newport.
in
I love
Newport.
it. And people from Newport, although it's not where I'm from, will say the same thing. If you're from there, you can slag it off. But you get very defensive if other people slag it off.
Yeah. For someone who is not from Newport originally, like, what was it like coming into it?
Weird, huge. I mean, coming back to the UK when I did in 2005 was a massive culture shock. Life is so different here in the first world compared to like Kenya. I remember going to buy a bed. So I was living in Macken, a place called Macken near Kifili. And in Kenya, where I'm from, you drive along the side of the road and there's beds all made, carved, intricate, like ebony beds. And so you'll drive over, they'll put the bed on a pickup truck. So you'll say, I'll have that bed. They'll put it on a pickup truck. They'll take it to your house and then they go and carry it upstairs. That's how I thought beds were sold here. So I go to this like furniture shop in Kifili, go in there, go upstairs. I said, oh, I'll have that one, please. That double bed there. Okay. Take the order. I thought I was taking it away or they would arrange a transport. So he said, 2 weeks, we'll drop it to your house. I was like, oh, I don't get it now. No, you don't get it now. We'll bring it to your house in 2 weeks. Oh, okay. So go off. 2 weeks later, knock at the door. These two guys come in with like this flat pack furniture thing in a box, walk past, and then they're about to leave. And I was like, whoa. I said, I think you've got the wrong order. Well, what do you mean? I said, I ordered a bed. Yeah, there's
You
bed.
got to do it yourself.
Oh, where was it from? IKEA.
No, it was like some just little furniture shop,
okay.
right? Where, you know, like B&M type.
Yeah,
so there's a
yeah.
few they have out that are built, and then the rest is
You
go
thought
get
that
it
was
off.
Thought they would
yours.
just stick it through the
Coming in.
window.
I
or
thought they were
something.
just going to come with the bed and then put it upstairs. I had to pay them 50 quid to put it together. They were like, no, we don't put them together. I was like, well, I'm not going to do it. I can't do that. I can't make a bed. And just that was a culture shock. And
Okay.
So were you born in Kenya?
No, I was born in London.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you take us back then and run us through from Chelsea, because I know that's where you was from in London. Can you take us back to where you was born up to the Kenyan days and how you eventually got to Cardiff?
Okay, right. So my dad is Italian, so he left Italy very young, went to London and was a pit boss in a casino. My mother was Scottish. She passed away 2 years ago, and she was a bunny girl in that casino. She was a waitress, and they met. He couldn't speak English at the time, and he taught himself to read, reading novels. Taught himself English, which is amazing, and now he's got better grammar than I have. It's absolutely amazing with English, although he's still got a very Italian accent. So they met and then had my brother, and he was working back in the 60s. It was a very famous casino called the White Elephant. he used to, the Craze used to play on his
I think I've heard of it,
tables and-
actually.
Yeah. Very famous casino. So they were working there. They had my brother, they had me, and then I think we travelled around in England a little bit in a few places, and then we left to go and live in Lebanon. So we lived in a place called Juni, and we went to school there. We lived in a hotel. So the top of this hotel was this grand casino, and us as kids, we just ran around the hotel having fun, right?
Like bedtime stories. the
Oh
film.
yeah, amazing. And so he worked in the casino there, and by that time my little brother was born. So I think I was around 8. Went to a high school, Brumana High School, which was the same school that Osama bin Laden went to. Obviously,
Wow.
different
That's
years because
mad.
he's a lot older than me. But he was in that school. So we were educated there, learnt a bit of Arabic. We had to learn Arabic. And then the war broke out. So I think that was around 81. But there'd been a 15-year war anyway in Lebanon. And before we left, there was a famous war called the Night of the Long Knives, which happened about 15 kilometers away from the hotel that we lived in.
Heard of that?
Yeah.
Was that overnight then, or was it over a certain amount of time?
I think
Just name
the
that.
Long Knife War was the actual attack where they just massacred Christians. It was a religious war,
Yeah.
essentially. So
Yeah.
it was the phalangists and Muslims, Shia Muslims, and so we had to leave that. I remember being woken up about 2 a.m. We're going. What do you mean we're going? We're leaving now. What do you mean we're leaving? We're leaving Lebanon. Well, where are we going? We're going to Italy. Oh, okay. What about
Wow.
all our stuff? Leave it. And then we were taken downstairs, and I remember we were in the back of a taxi on the way to the airport in Beirut, and my dad was in the front, and I remember the sweat was just pouring down the back of his neck because the phalangists had attacked the casino where he was to try and go and find money. So yeah, we got on a plane and then took off to Italy.
Did you, when you was going to the plane, did you witness anything bad? Like,
No,
was it like a
because we got to the
scurry?
airport. No, we got to the airport in time, and actually around 2 weeks after we arrived in Italy, that casino got bombed.
Wow.
So we got out in
That's
time.
mad.
So yeah, then we moved to Italy, where my dad's from. So we moved in with his mother, my nonna, in Sanremo, up in the north, next to the border with France. Went to school there. So I've been in 21 different schools
Yeah,
in my
you-
life. Yeah.
Traveling
That's
about
mad.
quite a bit.
Yeah. And I used to change my accent depending on whichever country and school I was in.
On purpose.
Yeah, to fit in.
You had the
So,
talent.
Really?
yeah. You had to be like a chameleon.
Crazy,
You
innit?
had to really fit in.
Yeah.
So there was a time that we had to move back to Scarborough, where my mother's mother lived.
That's exotic.
Exotic. So I remember going to school, and I would talk like this normally, and I'd leave the house and say, "Bye, mum, bye, dad, bye, grandma." And then I go to school, and I was like, "I just saw a dog shitting in the street. What you doing after? You know, are we going up the playfield? What you doing after?" And then I'd go home,
You're
open
really
the
good at
door, and I'd
that.
go in and go, "Hi, mum, hi, grandma, I'm home."
Crazy.
That's mad, isn't it?
And yeah, same thing when I went to Kenya, because in Kenya everybody speaks.
Why did
like
you go
this.
to Kenya then? Like what? Was that from Italy?
Yeah, so I think we stayed in Italy for about a year, and then my dad was ringing contacts he had to try and find somewhere else to go and open another casino. And yeah, got home from school one day to be told, right, we're packing everything, we're going to Nairobi. And then we arrived in Nairobi in February 1982, and then in July that year there was a coup d'etat. So there
A
was
coup,
yeah. So the army took over the country, and where we lived in another hotel that had a casino on the other side, and where that hotel was, about 100 meters away was the radio station. So in any coup d'etat, the first thing they go for is the radio station, because they want to take
let
over
people
the
know what's
radio.
going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was called Voice of Kenya. and there was a roundabout, and I remember hiding in the bushes with my brother because we could hear gunshots, and my mum
Wow.
used to say to us, "Stay in the house, there's a coup," as if it were, stay in the house.
Yeah, it's raining.
Yeah, stay in the house, there's a coup.
Wow,
And me and my
that's
brother were
mad.
like, let's go and have a look, let's go and have a look.
Yeah.
And I remember like sat with my brother watching this roundabout where the station was, and you looked down, there was just like 50 dead bodies just all lying on the roundabout. And then they actually marched my dad out at gunpoint. We were watching this from the casino to go in then and take money from the casino. Some of the army guys, yeah. So it was mad. It was, yeah.
Your dad, what's his story? And was he an entrepreneur then? Like, the casino, like he was just working in a casino then, was he?
He
was trying to own casino.
So in London, he worked there. So he was a pit boss.
Okay.
And he used to do, I mean, he's amazing. If you ever see how he is with cards and stuff, it is all he knew, never educated, but so clever, just taught himself. I mean, teaching yourself another language in 2 months is not easy.
No,
That's crazy.
So and in those days, any of you like casinos? Any of you gamblers?
Time to
I
time.
used to. I
Right.
quit gambling a long
So
time.
the American roulette is where you put the chips on yourself, right?
Yeah.
So in London at that time, and there's very few places that do it now because you've got to have really trained casino workers, is French roulette. So in French roulette, you'll shout to the dealer your numbers and they throw the chips. And if you see my dad throwing chips, he can put it, he can take 3 chips and he can throw it and they will land perfectly on the corners of 4 numbers.
Wow.
That's insane.
So he's
So
a real
used to it.
skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And great with maths. Amazing. You ask
you'd
him
have to
any.
be when
you
all
have
these
to
numbers
be.
coming in.
Yeah, because it's all odds. 36
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
1, or 8 times 16. And he's like that. Bam, bam,
That's
bam.
mad.
He's just so
That's
quick.
nuts.
Yeah. Amazing guy.
Wow. So from there then, you're in Kenya, getting rushed out. Where did you go from Kenya?
Stayed there, actually. It was one country that we settled in.
Okay.
I still changed schools. My mother was, she was one of the most tolerant people you'll ever meet. And in Kenya so Kenya's British colony, right? So in 30s and 40s, there were a lot of British blue-blooded people. So royalty used to go and settle in Kenya, or Kenya, as they called it. Okay, so white colonialists. And they stayed for generations and generations. And we've got people there like Thornton's chocolates.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the granddaughter was someone that I knew. So that family lived there. Fry's chocolate.
Yeah.
Dinah Fry, she was a woman that lived in Nairobi. That
Well, all the
knew.
cocoa plants and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Just, wealthy British
Yeah.
families. Coincidentally, 2 chocolate heirs. Aston Martin's
That's
daughter.
nuts.
so did you live
Also-
in a nice place in Kenya then? Was it like
Were you quite
upper
well
class
off?
or middle class?
Yeah.
To be rubbing
My
shoulders with
family
these
went
people?
through lots of different types. So we were either really loaded, right? So my mum owned race horses, drank fine wine and stuff like that. Or we were really poor.
Ups and downs,
We had
like-
nothing.
It's like
Depending
kinda
on
like
where
gambling,
my dad
innit?
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
a bit like that. So this was where we grew up. So you had the white Kenyans over here. So all very colonial people, all spoke like that, all went to private school in England. So they'd be shipped to Eton by their parents who lived in Kenya. And my mum, as soon as we arrived in the country, never wanted us to grow up like
that.
So she sent us to an all-black school so that we would look, because a lot of white Kenyans can be a little bit racist. Not like South Africa, not, overtly racist.
Because it does
but-
sound similar to the South African
yeah,
type.
British colonials. I mean, British.
Yeah.
They did
Yeah.
in India. They go there. You'll be my servant. We'll take over your country. Boom. So and I thought that was incredibly brave of her to say, no, I don't want my kids growing up like little colonial kind of masters, or we're the best at everything. I'll send them I want them to integrate into the culture. So we went to a black school, learned Swahili, which I speak, and learnt some dialects. So Kikuyu, that's a dialect in Kenya. most of the people in that particular school were Kikuyu tribe because it's
So
still very
tribes, aren't
tribal.
they?
Yeah. So and yeah, when you're a kid at school, you don't want them to talk about you and you not know what they're saying. So we learned pretty fast. So yeah, went to lots of different schools as well.
At the
That's
time,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
At the time, then this is. Did you go to high school? Did you go to uni or anything?
No, I burnt my bridges before uni. So when I was 18, that's when the drug use started.
Okay, so can you Can you go into that? Like, what kind of things did you were you introduced to in Kenya? What kind of drugs are out there? What are you mixing with? What are you being tempted by?
So it's I'm always either really, really good. So before drugs, I was I swam for Kenya. I was like massive sports person. I was top of my class. My A-level results were my O-level results were amazing, and I was really, really good. I never drank. I didn't like it. I never smoked spliff. Nothing. Or I'm flat out. There is no in between.
Would you say you've got like a
It's like
really
gambling again.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's-
There is a running
yeah,
theme. It's
a
very.
thing. Would you say you've got like a really addictive personality?
I definitely believe in
Like an OCD.
familial addiction cycles. My mother died an alcoholic. Her father died an alcoholic. My mother's sister died an alcoholic and also had lung cancer because she just smoked loads. So I do believe that I don't think it's the only reason that people become addicted, but I think it's definitely a factor.
What would you think the main reason was for you going into? Would you say it was like mostly family, or do you think there was like trauma from your childhood or anything?
When you say trauma, so you've got the classic ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences that lots of drug users have, and they can be things like childhood sexual abuse, emotional abuse. I didn't have any of them, but when I reflect on my life, it was quite scary growing
Well, I
up.
think
with
finding
these
dead
drugs.
bodies on a roundabout ain't normal.
Exactly.
And you
so,
moved A to B constantly, seems like.
Yeah, there was never any stability as
Yeah.
kids, and we were left on our own. I mean, wandering around hotels, and I always felt quite alone. And I think that was a factor. I mean, I remember when we looked round our first house in Kenya, and there's my mum and me and the estate agent lady, and she said, we went upstairs and she said, this is the master bedroom, and over here is the guest bedroom. This is your rape gate. This is another guest bedroom. My mum was like, whoa, hang on. What? Can you go back a bit? What was that?
I was
She
thinking
went,
Rape gate.
oh, the guest bedroom. She went, no. Before that, she said, oh, the rape gate. And my mum was like, why do you call it a rape gate? Oh, well, we have a lot of robberies in Nairobi. So what happens is this
hide.
big metal gate, you lock, and then, they can't come upstairs. So they can rob the bottom of your house, but not come upstairs.
Wow.
And I'm a kid listening to this. And I remember my mother was like, where's Paolo brought me to now? What place am I living in?
And your mum's Scottish, is she?
Yeah.
Just a mad
originally.
jock going to Nairobi.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I lived in my life that it was traumatic in a way in
was never
terms
any
of you're
routine,
right.
yeah.
So I think, yes, that was a factor because heroin for me made me feel safe. But yeah, I was really good up until the age of 18. And when I was 18, my older brother he'd gotten in with a group of American kids who were trying out LSD and, cocaine and things like that. And at that time, I'd met a girl called Nick and we started to smoke weed. Now, in Kenya, when you go and score weed, here you might get a little baggie. And in Kenya, you go knock on the door and you say, yeah, I'm here to purchase some of your finest cannabis sativa. And they open the door, they take your money, like £5. And you walk out with, a middle page of a newspaper.
just wrapped up in
It's a bush like
a
this.
bag of chips.
Yeah, so you are running. No, it's like that.
What?
Walking out the house. That's what you buy.
What is it?
like
Leaf?
proper bush
it's
weed,
Just
like.
bush weed.
Proper bush.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the climate. There's a lot of cannabis
Yeah.
growing in
Couldn't
Kenya.
you just grow it yourself? Or is it illegal?
What
get in
for?
trouble?
When you can buy it for £5,
No, yeah,
and it
you're
is
right.
illegal.
Yeah.
And actually, as you'll find out, any drug, if you get caught with drugs in Kenya, at that time it was a mandatory 10-year sentence
Wow.
because they looked down on drug use. So yeah, started to smoke a bit of weed. My brother had got in with this crowd, and then he met a Corsican girl called Toti who had smoked heroin in France. and in Kenya as well. So you can't get cocaine because the trafficking routes, it's the other way. So in Kenya, we get pure grade Afghani and Pakistani heroin, because what happens is lots of drug mules, so Nigerian usually drug mules, would go to Pakistan, Afghanistan, swallow condoms of pure heroin.
And how would they come back? Would they come back
So
via
if
land?
they get on a plane in Pakistan and land in Heathrow, they're under suspicion. Yeah, so customs are looking, there's a plane from Afghanistan, there might be some drugs.
Straight away into the stigmas.
Yeah, so what they do is they transit, because we're not that far, in Nairobi, get a hotel overnight, sell a bit of this pure grade heroin that they've got on them to pay for their hotel room, and then they go Nairobi, Heathrow. So the heroin that you buy in Kenya is unadulterated.
Raw,
it's not cut.
not stamped
There's
on.
no cutting in Kenya. It's like straight, and then it's on the streets, and it's dirt cheap.
So is that what you was trying out for the first time? Was it this raw?
Pure brown. So it was Afghani brown.
And you was introduced to this by?
My brother.
Okay.
My older brother.
And how would you take it? Was it just
smoked it?
Just smoked it on the foil?
Yeah.
Was you hooked from the get go, or?
I wouldn't say that. I puked my guts up the first time, and I was like, "Why are they doing?" I was doing it to impress my brother. My brother and I always had a bit of a massive rivalry in a way, and he used to look down on me and say, "Oh, you guys smoking your marijuana? Why don't you come and try a real drug like
Where's the
heroin?"
class?
And I was like, "No, I don't want to." And then I just found myself in his apartment one night, and they were all like booting on foil, and he was like, "Are you going to have a go? Are you going to sit there bored?" I was like, "Yeah, all right, then I'll have a go."
Well, were you nervous though to do it, or were you just for rags? I'm just going to do that.
Did you know the
my
dangers?
brother was doing it, so I was like, "Well, it
true.
must be okay."
They say the peer, it's when you look at someone you know doing it, you think it's.
Did you know the dangers?
And I wanted to be a bit like him.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you know the dangers of it before you did it? Like, did you?
No. God, no.
Really?
No heroin user would say, if I'd said to Cullen before he first picked up, right, when you have this line, right, you are going to spend 3 years in prison. You are going to be so addicted, you're going to start robbing from your family.
Yeah.
You are going to you
For the year,
you won't have that.
No, for the year, I was playing with it, like just thinking, I'm never going to get a habit.
Exactly.
I'm fine.
I didn't know I had a habit.
When people are smoking it as well, you'll find that they'll say to you, "Like I'm fine."
Yeah,
And
well, everyone's in
that's
denial, isn't they?
Yeah.
And that's how you think, "Oh, well, he is fine." Like so.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people I would see on it were quite like smartly dressed,
Like
and
legit.
I never ever got to the low, like on the street level until my addiction got
Later
really
on.
bad. But it's like Martin was saying, probably in Kingston at the time as well, early on. They were very affluent people taking heroin and stuff because it was hard to get. And you look at these people and, you know, because when they don't start off on the streets, these heroin addicts, they obviously start off as normal people.
Yeah.
And if they're dressed smart when they're taking, you know, that's how I looked at it anyway. I didn't think I'd be that bad, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
It's like a rabbit hole, isn't it?
yeah.
And do you remember that feeling when you first used to take it? I used to look down on people, did you? I used to be in clubs going,
You don't feel
I'm on
like
heroin,
I feel,
yeah.
I
I'm on
feel
heroin.
good.
Yeah.
You're just there with your side.
Do you know what?
What's that?
I've never looked at it like that, but I did. I did feel like that. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're in
Fucking
that
mad.
bubble of, I'm omnipotent.
You don't feel like I feel.
Yeah.
You're
Like
missing
I'm
out.
untouchable kind of
Really?
thing.
Yeah.
I think there's
in the
something on this
beginning.
planet like that just makes humans feel like that, innit? It's
Mad.
boggling.
Is it just like, what does it feel like when what is it, if you could describe it yourself? Because I remember I asked Helen, what did it feel like? But if you had to say if you had to describe the feeling of how it feels to take it, what does it feel like if you had to say?
Well, physically, because it's a painkiller, basically, an opiate is a painkiller. Your whole body just feels warm. Any kind of niggles that you might have just go. If you got a bit of toothache or your leg, you take gear and it's gone. Mentally, you feel safe. You feel everything's life's great. You're in this bubble of warmth, aren't you? It's just like everything's great. You know, the world all of your problems just go away immediately, and that's why it's such a useful drug for people who have really bad traumas, like childhood sexual abuse. It takes it away. It just goes. It
like a
numbs
plaster,
it. You feel
isn't it?
numb. Outwardly, when people look at heroin users, it doesn't look like, because That's how I spent 15 years of my life. That was it, you know.
Okay.
So it's not like it's not a dance party drug.
No.
It's just but it's
You're blocking stuff out, really. You know, it's just like,
and feeling warm and in this nice warm bubble.
Yeah.
It's like you are. Have you ever had an operation? Have you ever been in hospital?
once.
And they give you the anesthetic,
Anaesthetic,
and then you feel all woozy. It's like that.
Really?
But
is
you
like
know
that.
where you are a bit more. So, like you do get like the gouging out and stuff, but if you've got a habit then eventually or something and you take it, you get the warm blanket, but you know what you're doing. It's not like alcohol where you don't know what you're doing or
No, you
like,
never.
you are quite like you know what's going on like.
Well, like when
Yeah.
you develop more of a tolerance,
Yeah,
you can control it.
even at the beginning, like I had that warm, fuzzy feeling, but I knew what I was doing. Like I weren't like
Yeah, but there were times, right, that I don't think that's entirely true.
well, yeah, no, if I'm
Because-
gouging out, like yeah.
Do you
I'm
ever
like,
remember
fuck.
trying to control gouging out?
No,
were
no, you
like,
can't.
If you had to go and see your mum or something, and
Oh,
you
no,
could
no.
feel your eyes going,
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah, yeah.
don't.
Yeah, you
I
fight
think
it like
sometimes we thought we were okay. It's like I used to remember
Yeah, you're
looking in the
right.
mirror going, I look hot, and actually, oh my god,
It's like
I
Wolf
look-
of Wall Street, you know, when he drives the car back safely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's like
Yeah.
that. I love that scene.
I
Yeah.
got home in
Yeah.
one piece and the car's just fucked.
The
Yeah.
steps are the
Yeah.
funniest.
And he's
part.
explaining like, I got home, got inside,
Yeah.
and then
I love
The
that.
phone.
It's one of my favourite scenes.
Good, isn't it?
Oh, it's top. It is top.
Yeah.
All right, and so like when I said on here as well, like the first time I took it, I weren't addicted, but it had me straight away. So was that the same with you? When did you begin to get a habit on it, and when
So
did
I
it become
didn't know
religious?
I was like, doing that. So my brother almost forced me, that's my justification, to go up to his flat, right? Where he had his friends. And so he'd keep like coming downstairs saying, "You gonna come up?" And that carried on for a couple of weeks. And then we all went to the coast on a bus. There was like 4 of us that went on holiday, him and his girlfriend and me and my current boyfriend, I'd got onto heroin, which I'm not proud about, but I did. And still at that time, I
All
didn't know
been
I had
there.
a habit. Yeah. And we got caught and put in prison. And it was when I was in prison, I remember lying there thinking, what the hell is wrong with my body? I was sweating. I was shaking. You know how it is. I couldn't go to the toilet and then it
It
wouldn't
all come
stop.
out. Yeah.
And I felt irritable. And I said to the French girl that was my brother's girlfriend at the time, I don't feel very well. And she was like that. Yes, you stupid cow. You are clucking. Don't you know that? And I didn't. And I was like,
Wow.
what do you mean clucking? She said, it's the heroin. I was like, oh. And that's the first time I realized.
How did they treat you in the prison?
Just raw clock.
Because they just let you raw clock.
Well, they
Oh, God,
No,
yeah.
right.
In Kenya.
There's no like.
They've
they
been
don't
doing that in
help you.
British.
No.
They've been doing that in British prisons
Yeah,
until
yeah, yeah.
recently.
Do people
What
die
do you mean?
in
They
the
give it to
prison then
people now?
off that? Like, can you like? Do you know what I'm saying?
You can't
Give it-
die from heroin withdrawal.
No.
I mean, you could potentially. Alcohol, yes. And this is
Yeah.
what a lot of people don't realize.
Mm.
You can't die from it. It's very rare that you'd die from the symptoms of heroin withdrawal.
Methadone detox
But
is
it's
horrible.
horrible. Honest to God, it's
Yeah.
isn't it? It is horrible.
I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
No.
Is it like train spotting like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know
yeah.
what? That's a very good depiction
Yeah.
of like the psycho side of it.
Yeah,
and-
because it gets your psychology,
Yeah.
physically.
You
it's
can't sleep for
horrendous. You don't
days.
sleep
No
days,
way.
months.
Wow.
on the meth, I didn't
Took
sleep
me
for months.
months to get back into a sleep
up.
pattern. And if you think not
months.
sleeping is a form of torture,
Yeah.
right? That's why when people who've been on heroin go through withdrawal, right? The thing that breaks you
Sleep.
is you can't sleep and you think, do you know what? I know what's going to solve this, and that's
Just
heroin.
two lines.
it'll go.
And you know what? When you're in prison as well, and you're doing a detox in prison, and your pad mate's sleeping, and you're doing double bed. You're doing
Yeah.
you're doing 24-hour
you are.
days in a
yeah.
prison
Oh
cell.
my God, you are because you're staying up for
I
it.
remember when I'd done the methadone for about a month, I did not sleep in a
Surely,
cell
like, if
for
you-
a month.
Horrendous.
That's
Bad.
Sweating. Yeah.
Your brain really needs sleep though, so you're damaging like your brain, then you really.
Yeah.
It's weird.
yeah.
Because like and that's going to leave you with long-term effects, surely.
But you know,
Well, they do
no.
say
I'm not a
that-
scientist.
But
Like,
know
no,
what
there
actually-
is research that even abstinent heroin users who have some kind of cognitive after effects of it.
It's mad.
But yeah.
And then you came out and used again then? It's like we all
Straight
do?
away the day. So we
Wow.
did 18 months, and
In prison?
lots of people, in prison in Malindi in Kenya.
You know the prisons.
Yeah.
Are they just? What are they like there? They're just nuts, or
Right. In physically, right? It's going to a British prison. It's like going to a hotel. Totally different.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
that.
but that's
one
when
of the
you've been there. When
differences.
you've been to Kenya, you can say that. Like, British prisons
Yes.
aren't on nice, but then I suppose you come from there.
What you
Slight
didn't
dig
have.
in,
I
like-
know
No,
he's
it's not.
getting all defensive
I
now.
had it hard.
You just
I'm joking.
No,
My
what I
TV
will
wouldn't
say-
work.
PlayStation.
No, yeah, but it was a PS2, not 4.
Difficult.
Could you
No,
smoke-
it is.
It
It's
didn't have
historical.
Mario Kart.
You smoke. You could smoke in an English prison, yeah?
What, cigarettes?
Yeah.
Well, at the time, yeah.
You
they
don't know.
banged.
You're born. No. So in that way,
Sorry, man.
in that way, physically, right? It
Yeah.
was hardcore, right? You don't have a bed. You sleep on a floor. No bed.
What sentence is this for now? This is just for
This was for heroin. So we were sentenced to 10 years.
This is the one. Is it the
This
smuggling
is
one?
the
How old
So
are you
what
at the time?
happened?
18.
Oh, you want right. So
Yeah,
I
so-
was 18. So it was 1989. So I was 19.
Can you explain what happened?
Okay. So me, my brother's girlfriend, the Corsican, mad Corsican, and my brother and my boyfriend of the time, we all got on a bus to go for a holiday. And we had quite a lot of heroin on us. The girls had it in our suitcase, not the boys. We got on this bus to Malindi, which is on the coast in Kenya. And a friend of ours that we knew gets on the bus. He lights up a spliff. I'm gouging out on my boyfriend's shoulder.
Split for heroin?
Heroin, because we'd had a boot before we got on the bus. My brother sat there. His girlfriend is also like gouging out. We're just on this bus. This other guy comes on, lights up a spliff, starts smoking the spliff out of the window on a public bus, right?
Wow.
A guy at the back of the bus, a black Kenyan guy, starts shouting at him, saying, "Can you put that out?" And he turns round and says, or what are you going to do? Arrest me. Not knowing he was a plainclothes policeman.
Oh, my God.
So that pissed him off. So he radioed ahead to Malindi police station, because we hadn't got there yet, and said, essentially, there's 5 white kids on this bus. Pull them over and arrest them. He's smoking cannabis.
They probably hate it over there as well, innit? These white kids coming over and they're
That's
taking
why-
drugs.
so-
And
yeah. So and they made an example of us as
Yeah.
white
Right.
kids. We were in the paper. I was in the paper.
Was you?
Yeah. I was. It was the thing my mum will never forgive me for is when it was in the paper. It said Rondine Molinaro and her friends so and so. She was like, "Why are you the ringleader?" I was like, "I didn't tell him to put my name first." So yeah, we were it was quite a famous case at the time because it was the first one.
and what was the
where-
case? Smuggling, was it, or something? Or was it
I
just
was,
quantity?
They called it trafficking. It really wasn't. I wasn't selling it. I was going to smoke it all myself.
Yeah,
It
of
was
course.
possession. They pulled us over on the bus, get us all out of the bus, start searching stuff, right? So I'm now there. I start shitting myself thinking, I got heroin in my bag. So they find the heroin in my bag and my brother's girlfriend's bag, okay? And in the 2 boys' bags, they find cannabis. So they arrest us 4, but not my brother, because he didn't have anything on him. So we're arrested in a cell now, waiting to go to court. And what we should have done at the time and what we could have done was ring my dad. There's loads of corruption in Kenya. It's amazing. I love corruption. 'Cause you can get out of anything. But what we should have done is ring him. He could have
Bribed you there and then?
bribed us out of, not going to court. But because we were smoking heroin, my parents didn't know.
You
were
didn't
like,
want... Yeah.
let's not tell him. We'll probably just get a fine. We'll pay the fine and then we'll, continue our holiday. So we didn't know what was going to happen. Next day, we're stood in the dock in this tiny little courtroom in Malindi, and the judge says, right, mandatory sentence, 10 years.
Fucking
Oh
hell.
my days.
And I remember, have you watched Banged Up Abroad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
heard
that's
You
what I-
are like that.
That's what I do when I love watching it. I sit there with popcorn because I love getting to the bit where they get caught in a 3rd world country and they now know they're going to prison, because I know what that feels like. Your
So-
arse drops
my
out of
Did you
your
go
stomach,
to the
honestly.
local prison in Malindi?
Yes.
And what? And
I
what?
went to 2. I went to Malindi and then we appealed. that appeal was pushed back, and we went to a place called Shimalatewa, which is a lifers prison.
Any experiences in there which were pretty bad?
With drugs?
Just with being in prison, like in...
Well, so Kenyan prisons, really tough physically. So you don't get a bed, right? You're sleeping on concrete. So the first prison we were in, Malindi, there was 8 women in a cell, okay? And you sleep on concrete, you're given a really itchy blanket, and the light is left on all night, okay? So there's mosquitoes around the light. It's like 35 degrees heat.
Fucking hell.
They didn't give us, so like me and my brother's girlfriend, when we're in our period, they don't give you period stuff. You just bleed. You bleed on your uniform. They shaved our heads. They made us do like, it wasn't really manual labor. It was kind of torture. So they'd give us a tin can with holes in the bottom, and there was a jug of a big, like half a jerry can full of water, and we'd have to get the water and then go and water the plants over there. But you had to, because it had holes, the water would come out by the time you got. So it was just back and forth.
Pointless, yeah. Wow.
Did they do that on purpose then?
Yes,
they? Like,
yeah,
to
to mess with
antagonise
us.
you?
Yeah. So in this cell, you have your uniform on, you have your itchy blanket, and then you have nothing. You're not allowed anything. No books, no PlayStations, no nothing. We used to fight over the Bible. Someone was given a Bible in our cell, and we used to fight over who could read.
How many's in a cell?
So bored.
Oh my God.
8 of us.
Wow.
Can I ask
8
you?
women in the
Can I
cell.
ask you a question?
Yeah.
So obviously, when you were in that cell and you had nothing to do,
What did you
like
do?
what were you
Right.
like? What
I'll
did
tell you
you,
what
did
we
you
did.
think?
So
and
you
stuff?
get very creative. What we did have in the cell, one girl was allowed to keep her afro comb, right? And she had it sticking out of her head. And then in Kenya, they got this thing called bar soap, okay? So if you go and buy soap from a little kiosk, it's in a bar and it's got grooves in it, and they cut it off and there's your piece of soap. It doesn't smell nice, it's shit. So we were given a bar soap in the cell. So we cut the bar soap, got the afro comb, and we managed to make little dice so that we could play Yahtzee. So, and then we'd make the grooves in the dice with the afro comb. So we were quite creative, but that's essentially all we had. We had some dice made out of soap and a Bible.
So just 100 games of Yahtzee then, is it?
Yeah, we just used to sit and play. Me
She
and
ended up
French-
like her dad, just pinging like sixes off.
Yeah.
Boom, 6.
Oh my
And the
God.
food, oh my God. So in the morning.
What's a Friday special?
Right, so...
Fish and chips in Britain.
first
Barrow
few
soap.
days-
Barrow soap.
Is it actually?
Yeah, you get one meal a day.
Fish Friday.
Wow.
You get one meal a day, and in the morning you get this porridge that it's like flour and water. That's it. It's called uji.
Uji.
Even the African women in there who were used to uji, which
Hated
is
uji.
not very tasty anyway, were like, "This uji is shit.
This is an uji.
This is disgusting. This isn't uji."
Wow.
And then the first night we were there was a grill. So it had a rape. It had a big a raw iron grill, and then it was an open air prison at the top. So you had like, do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
yeah.
hot.
So you could see.
Yeah. So the warden would come to the thing, and they would throw under the grill, right?
Hang on. So were they stand with the guards like on a higher ground, or was you underground?
No. We were just in a
Level.
field, cement block. It had like little grills at the top so the air could get in, and then the doorway was a metal grill, right? But under the doorway, about that much, was a gap. So the warden used to come on an evening and then chuck in 8 silver metal bowls of ugali now, which is a maize meal substitute. It's a maize meal, right? They eat it a lot in South Africa. It's a staple food in Africa. It's made of corn. And so they would put, and then every Friday, the first Friday, these dishes came through and there was a goat hoof stuck in the top of it.
Fuck off.
And I remember the French girl, Toti, said to me, "What the fuck is that? I'm not eating that
And
shit."
they eat snails.
A week later, we were fighting over the biggest hoof and like, because we were hungry.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
had to eat it. But we got dysentery. We got.
Oh, that's mad.
No,
That is
and that was it. That's a
absolutely
Kenyan
nuts.
prison. So
So how
physically, really tough, but there was no bullying.
you were
We
quite stuck
didn't get
together,
hit.
really? I assume.
The wardens were pretty okay. They once lied to us and said they were going to give us a fag because we were in there New Year's Eve. They were going to give us a fag and a Coke for New Year's Eve. And we were so excited.
No
so
way.
excited. We were like, oh, we're going to have a cigarette and a bottle of Coke. And then we waited. I mean, we didn't have watches, so we didn't know what time it was. We were like waiting.
There's no
Oh,
fireworks
that
in
was-
Kenya. to
What
find
a,
out
what a sly guy. Like
Yeah,
that.
but then the next morning she
Mad.
came along. We were like, "Where were you with our cigarette and our Coke?" And she went, you believed me."
Oh, no.
And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh." So yeah, so when we were finally let out, my brother met us at the prison, took us to a hotel, me and his girlfriend, and said, "Oh, there's something for you on the coffee table in there." And there was the
foil of
biggest
gear.
bag of gear, yeah. And we just,
Did you at the time? Was you like, fuck my brother? Like, or was it, once again, like you came out, oh, buzzing, give it to me? Was it like,
yeah, buzzing, give it to
yeah.
me. Yeah.
So, go on, sorry. man.
Just quickly going back to, so you were doing a 10-year sentence.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do the full 10 years.
18 months.
How
So-
did you manage to get it down to 18 months?
So, like I said, there's a lot of corruption. So the first appeal we went to, it got turned down. The second appeal, the parents of all of us, now knowing that we were in prison, my mum and dad came to see me and they just wept when they saw me walking towards them
can
in my
imagine.
little pink
Balls.
uniform. We all had a number as well. But the second appeal, we were all put into the back of a Land Rover. We were taken to a court and they had to lend us dresses to wear because we didn't have clothes.
In your head, are you like, we're getting out this time?
No, because of the first one.
Okay.
Right. So very depressed. And I remember the two boys who were colonials, right? We're in the back of this Land Rover, shackled, right? I had no hair. They shaved our heads and everything, sat like that. And we're in a traffic jam. And the one boy looks and he went, "Oh my God, don't look now. It's the Cunningham Reeds in the car behind us." And I'm sitting there like, and you give a shit? You're sat shackled. You give a shit?
Worried
Who is going to
about-
see
yeah.
you in the back of a Land Rover? But that's like that.
Stigma
colonial-
of being
Yeah.
a colonial.
The two
And,
boys, when we were sentenced, both broke down and cried. I just stood there like that.
wow.
What the fuck?
You're
But I
quite
didn't
tough,
cry.
you are, and you like
Resilient.
thick
You
skin.
seem like a really resilient person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah.
Wow, that's that's mad, isn't it? Fair play to you, Ron.
Spun my head, honestly. That's
So, how old was you when you came out of this prison sentence?
I was 21.
And how long into your heroin addiction was you?
I started at 18.
So you was still pretty early on.
Still pretty early. Still enjoying it.
Still enjoying.
Well,
Yeah.
apart from prison.
No, but it's mad. You go, all that. You think you'd be like, I'm never taking heroin again. But it ain't like that,
It's
is
not.
it? It's more like,
compulsive.
I can't wait till I have my next one.
Yeah, back then. Yeah, when I finally
Yeah.
stopped, it was different.
Yeah, when the penny drops, it
Yeah.
is different, 100%. But I think when you're in that, that game of heroin, when from start to finish, you never think about coming off. And
No, well, that's why prison doesn't work.
no, it
for-
doesn't.
For drug users, it doesn't work.
When you come from and you come out of that prison, you went back. Did you stay in Kenya for a bit? Because you went to South Africa rehab, didn't you?
That was later. So
okay. Can we move into that a bit?
after prison, went back to Nairobi, and then I got back on the gear. And my mum, bless her, the amount of clucks that I've done, and she used to nurse us through them, me and my older brother, right? So she would know to the hour when we would feel like eating again. Honestly, she could have got a job in a detox unit because she'd done it so much with us, bless her. So
Did you ever inject?
yeah,
Is
in
it?
London. But in Kenya, no, because Kenya's very smoking culture. It's a bit like Pakistan.
Yeah,
In
you said
Pakistan,
this.
there's not a lot of people that inject. In Europe, yeah. So I came to London. I went back to London, actually. My parents gave me, I can't remember, $3,000 or something. Go and make a new life. It's because you're in Kenya. You need to go there, make a new life, get a job. But I arrive, this is true story. So in those days, we had videos. You guys are probably too young to
I
know
remember.
what they were.
What do you mean? We had
Videotape cassettes.
Oh,
I do
Right?
remember
you,
them.
You slide them in the TV.
But-
Yeah.
Wind
So-
them back and
Yeah. Videos, right? So in Kenya, there wasn't a lot on TV. TV channels weren't great. So you'd have shops like Blockbusters. Blockbusters,
Yeah,
is it? That
yeah.
was the
Yeah.
So you could go and pick movies anyway. My mum got this series called Prime Suspect. Okay.
Prime Suspect.
Had Helen Mirren in as a
Yeah.
copper. So I'm at home, locked in, because I'm doing my cluck, and my flight is like in 2 weeks' time. She puts this series in the video player, and I'm watching it. And I'd never been to London in my life, but I knew in 2 weeks I was going to a country I'd never to a city that I hadn't been in since
I can
was
imagine
born,
what was going
right?
through your head.
And I'm sitting there because I still hadn't I hadn't quite finished using drugs. So I'm sitting there. This shows King's Cross, right? I didn't know King's Cross, but I'm sitting there going, because in the series she comes out and she's with some sex workers in King's Cross, drugs and so in my head I'm thinking,
I can have a bit of
King's
this.
Cross, that's where I need to go. So I flew 2 weeks later to Heathrow, and all I've got is a suitcase now, right? So this is my new life. So I come out of the airport, get onto a tube, and I'm sat looking at that tube map, and I'm like, King's Cross, that's where I'm going. So I go to King's Cross, put my case in like a left luggage thing, come out of the station within 15 minutes. And you know how it is.
Yeah.
You have an antenna.
I done it at my nan's when I went.
You can go into any city in the world, right? And you can spot another user from 100 meters away.
A user, someone
way.
selling.
Yeah. So I see this guy, he was a Puerto Rican guy actually, walking past, and I was like, yo. And he comes over and I was like, yeah, looking for drugs. What kind of drugs? I said, heroin. Yeah, come with me. So that was it then.
There was no
Just-
code
So
words.
easy.
You literally said heroin.
Is it
You weren't
really like
It's
that?
that easy.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
It was.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, no,
Especially in
just that was
London.
it. Yeah, let's go. So I'm now in a strange city. Go with him. We go score, and then
Not me, literally.
I was going to say,
Cullen.
you and Cullen together, like.
Can you imagine us two together work,
Wow.
Yeah, go on.
So yeah, then it started again, and then before I knew it, I was homeless. I was begging. I got arrested I was the best shoplifter ever.
I
We
don't
all
know,
say that.
I think Cullen said to us he was the best.
I was better than you. Did you have
I got caught, so I went.
I never got. I did get caught, but
Foil
not in the
bag.
act.
Foil bag. I had the targeters. I had the lot. Not proud of it.
So my speciality was smoked salmon. So
That's mad.
in those days, right, they don't do it anymore. You'd go to Sainsbury's and there would be what they call a side of salmon.
Massive.
Yeah. So it was salmon on a piece of cardboard and it was like £35. So I had a coat that I could never do it up because I'd sewed a pocket in it. So every time I took it off, I had to put it over my head because I couldn't zip because it had this sewn pocket in it. So I just used to go to the fridge section and just fill this coat with sides of smoked salmon and then go to like a little boutique hotel and sell it to them.
You had a
for
regular,
tenner.
did you? You have a regular?
So I had a regular little place in Victoria that I used to sell to this particular chef.
Yeah.
This one day I go in there with my smoked salmon, different chef. So I'm there saying, do you want to buy some smoked salmon? I'll sell it to you for a tenner because five sides of salmon, that's 50 quid, that's
yeah.
5 bags. And he then went into the office and phoned the police, who then picked me up. But they released me without charge that time. I kind of taught my way out of it.
You've been to a British prison then?
No, I got arrested in England, but
Right.
never
Okay.
got charged and put in prison. Got arrested twice, actually. So, yeah, then I was home and then I learned to inject. I was,
What was that like? Because I never got to that. I tried it once, but didn't, this was earlier on and it didn't really do much for me. What was it like for you? Did you
I was
fall
always
in love with
scared
it?
of it. And I always used to refuse. So I was living at that time with an Italian dealer who I loved. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Totally loved him. So yeah, we were together. I used to sell a bit as well. I used to deal, and I was a shit dealer though. I used to get ripped off all the time. But
No, you smoked it all. Don't worry.
yeah, I did. But, so he injected. I smoked. And then this one day there was a shortage. We were on scripts at the time. So I was on a methadone script with a GP.
Make your last buy.
Well, we had one bag left. So I remember him like cutting my half. He cut his half. He cooks it up. And he goes, that's yours. And I'm looking at this.
That ain't going to run much on
And I
foil.
was like, that's a line and a half, man. That's not going to take away my cluck. So I was sitting there and everything inside me was saying, don't do it, don't do it. And in the end, I was just like, yeah, do it for me. So then he injected me most of the time. And then he got arrested and put in prison. So I had to then start injecting myself.
Fucking hell.
Does
And
it
at the
hit
time, I was
harder? Like,
So basically, for
like-
people who don't know, obviously, if you get a bag of heroin about that much,
Yeah.
right? So when you inject it, it's stronger because it goes into your veins, it hits faster.
Right.
They say it holds you longer, don't they? That's what they say.
It does.
If you put, yeah, there we are. So if you put that much, you need a decent amount of powder for it to start running 3-4 lines, take your cluck away. If you're splitting a bag, yeah, if they inject it, it's going to do better than
just
if you haven't
smoking
got
it.
much of it. You might only get one line out of that powder, but if you put, I bet when you put it in the injection,
I
you felt great.
overdosed. I overdosed.
Wow,
Yeah.
see
What happened
But on the
then?
foil, it wouldn't have done nothing.
It would have literally been like
and
one
frazzled,
and
yeah.
then boom.
Yeah.
Did you
yeah,
have to
yeah.
go to hospital when you overdosed?
No,
then, or-
all I remember is
He's
I remember
experienced in
putting
that.
it in, going, "Oh my god," because the feeling was just, it was so different. from
Intense.
smoke. It's like and that's why a lot of people, once you start injecting, it's very hard to go back the other way. And he was slapping me
Fucking hell.
awake on this bed, and I remember coming to, and I was like, and he was like, "Fuck, you nearly overdosed,"
Wow.
because it was that strong.
Would you
How
die
did
if
it
you'd have
feel?
overdosed? Like, would you have died there and then, or?
If he hadn't have slapped me away, yeah, I'd have died. I overdosed 5 times when I was injecting.
Mad.
What does overdosing feel like? Is it just like
You don't know.
Panic?
You hate it when someone actually brings you back alive.
Shut
because,
up.
no, it feels like the
Taking the
nicest
buzz
sleep
away.
ever.
Really?
Yeah.
And this
That's
is the
mad,
thing,
that.
what a lot of people with the naloxone say, don't they? They get angry.
I know.
Right, so this naloxone saves lives, yeah? So this is what George Charton's promoting,
Yeah,
and he's,
yeah.
it's an injection to reverse. If you've overdosed on heroin, you take it, it washes the heroin out of you, brings you back. And what a lot of people do, they might be dying,
Yeah.
but you bring them back, they get angry because
Yeah, they wake up and go, "What
I
the
only
fuck
had-
did you do
I-
that for?"
I only had 20 quid. You've just wasted my 20 quid buzz.
yeah?
And you've literally
Yeah.
saved their life. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
mad.
yeah. That's,
Oh my!
I do
God.
want to go, I'd love to go more in because we haven't got enough time for that. I want to start going into like how you, got clean and then what you do now for people, because I think it needs to be heard. You are an amazing person, Rond, and to come out the other side is amazing. So how did you what was like the last straws for you, and how long did it take?
When I came to London, then I discovered crack cocaine, which we never had in Kenya, and then I had 2 habits basically. So this is why I was quite good at shoplifting, because to maintain a crack and heroin habit, you're looking at easy 400 quid a day. That's the kind of money you need to be able to maintain that. So that's where I discovered crack. Anyway, years later, because I went back to Kenya, and then I was basically I was an international drug user.
Wait
just
there, you
going-
were making £400 a day shoplifting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's. I was on 200 a day, like 200
Yeah,
pound a
shoplifting
day.
and
That's-
dealing. So you deal as well.
What was the hard part? Trying to find someone to buy it, like, or what?
What's your hands on it?
Sorry.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Like trying to get people to buy it, like.
What do you mean? What, hard?
Yeah,
Yeah.
buying.
You guys say you got-
Like
so
obviously
you
you
got
still
buyers.
rob something, but then what? I've got like a
she's-
jacket, like
She's in the city of London, like where like you probably got
Yeah,
so many
no,
contacts.
But then,
Yeah.
like, even still, like, for example, say you rob £400 worth of stuff. How do you then?
You got
find
buyers.
the-
You're
Just-
going dirt cheap.
you got
as well, and
buyers,
you-
trust me, you
got
find
people
someone.
who you got contacts that you go to. They'll buy whatever.
I
you wanna
got about
sell.
12 people. I got loads of people who still ring me for stuff, like, because they still
Yeah.
think I'm shoplifting. I'm like, I don't do it no more.
Actually,
It's
can
demand.
you get me a Yankee candle?
Yeah, shut up. No, yeah, but especially
Yankee
like,
candles are the
especially
ones. Why
like,
do they get nicked?
people laugh about the meat and the stuff, but that's like the biggest demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Salmon,
Yeah.
cheese, meat.
Yeah. No
They're the
way.
biggest
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
people
Yeah.
love that shit.
Yeah.
And Yankee
I don't do it no
candles.
more, guys.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
So I discovered a liking for crack, and then when I eventually got clean, I was living in Cape Town, so I went there first for rehab. got clean, didn't use anymore, and then I got a job as a waitress in a seafood restaurant.
You weren't taking no salmon from there, was you?
No.
Just
I
joking.
wasn't using at this point. I wasn't using at this point.
Okay.
And this was a time where I was doing okay. So I got this job, and it was a really plush restaurant because I served Sting.
Oh, nice.
David O'Leary, the Leeds manager.
Yeah.
He never sent
I
me
never
my
see him
shirt that
anymore,
he
but he was a great manager.
He
was down here when Cardiff played.
Gary Lineker ate there, and Alan Hansen ate there.
Legend, Liverpool legend.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was waitress there. Anyway, I then relapsed again, back on crack and gear. And at the time I was living in, it got really, really bad, lost my job, ended up living in a crack house in Sea Point in Cape Town. And then, so I was living in this crack house, and to get money to use, don't laugh, I used to massage the owner's feet.
Lush.
But the weird thing was, right, the first time that one of the girls, because at the time I was
he a proper weirdo?
Oh, really weird. And his feet were rank, but I, you know how it is. I was in there like, just think of the gear.
Wow, really weird.
Happens to the best.
I
never done that, like. But
I thought I was going to say, Keller, did you any?
No,
feet?
I never did. Right, yeah, but
that's how desperate.
for women, but for
He
women,
rubbed a
there's
few
other avenues in it for women. Definitely.
definitely rubbed a few toes.
Of course.
No, bro.
Yeah, true.
But I remember at the time, right, saying, because my family then were these working girls, sex workers, right, in this crack house. This is who I was hanging with.
So rubbing
right?
feet ain't too bad compared to what they were doing.
One of them came and said, because I said, look, I can't pay for my room tonight. And I call it a room. It was a hovel.
Dive.
But you still had to pay whatever it was, £10 a night or whatever, to this owner. So I said, I ain't got money for my room. So she's like, oh, Ali, his name was. Ali says you can massage his feet. So I was like, really? And I'm thinking, right, what if he comes on to me? So I was like, oh, what, really? I got to massage his feet. She went, yeah, don't worry though, he's a paedophile.
Oh, fucking hell.
So I was like okay. so that he's not going to expect sex.
Yeah, I'm 30, so
I'm all right.
Oh
yeah,
my
so
God.
I had to
Don't worry,
massage
he's a pedo.
this paedophile's feet
fucking hell.
to pay for my room, right? So that's where I was. It wasn't glamorous.
It was getting
bad. And the day that I stopped, I was sat in this room, in my little room, and I'd had my last stone of crack and my last bag of gear. And I woke up the next morning clucking, and all I had left in the world, right, was a Liverpool shirt and a pair of Levi 501s. That is it. So I get up, I go to the room opposite, which there was a Nigerian dealer lived there, knocked his door. He was like, yeah, what do you want? I said, I need 2 browns and 1 white. And he went, have you got the money? And I went, no. I said, but I've got this. Because English Premiership shirts in Africa
massive
are worth a fortune, right? Especially if they're Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea.
Don't say Man U.
They won't buy it. That's a joke, actually. Yeah, they like Man U.
Yeah.
So I knew that I could get at
With
least
that.
a couple of bags. So he was like, oh, come in. So I go in this room. I stood there. He was like, all right, okay. He said, I'll give you 2 bags of brown for the shirt, and I'll give you 1 rock of crack for the Levi 501s, right? Because they're also quite a commodity to have, Levi's. So I was like that, okay, but what am I going to wear? And he was like, take this. And he took his shirt off and he threw me a pair of the skankiest shorts that you'll ever see, stained, I had to tie him up with a piece of rope. Gave him my Liverpool shirt, put his shirt on, right? Now, bear in mind, this was Cape Town, 38 degrees. The sweat, I could feel the sweat
Heavy
in
on
the
you.
pit bit. And I still put it on like that. And I'm like, oh my God. I grabbed these 3 bags. He gave me 3 in the end. Went to my room, smoked them. And then I was like, right, Rondine, you've either got to sort your shit out. I was 31 at this point. You've either got to sort your shit out, or you are going to be a sex worker and you will die. And I got into at that time, I'd borrowed a friend's car, but I'd hacked into all the car seats because I had crack psychosis at one point and thought there was crack hidden in the seats. And I drove this beaten up Mercedes to the rehab I'd been in before and basically begged them to let me in. And I did a 6-month stint. And then that was it. 15th of Feb 2001 was the last time I took a drug. And then I went back to Kenya, got it wasn't a job. No one trusted me. I'd burnt all my bridges because I used to, the shit I did, back home, people didn't trust me. But this one guy, and you'll always remember the people that give you that leg when everyone else doesn't trust you. His name was Perry Hennessy. And he said to me, I tell you what, you can come and work at the race course. You can work in the restaurant. I want you to sort it out, blah, blah, blah. I'm not paying you because I don't trust you. But you can take cigarettes from behind the bar and you can eat your food there and I'll give you a room and you've got to do that for 12 months. And I was like, I'll do it. And I did it for 12 months. And then I met a English jockey there, fell in love. He was an alcoholic. And the last thing they told me when I left rehab was don't find anyone that's as sick as you. Yeah. So I go and try
fall
and
in love with him.
Yeah, fall in love with an alcoholic jockey. You know what jockeys are like?
Tiny.
They're tiny. Yeah. So when they drink, honestly, they're, So he wanted to leave Kenya now to come to the UK. And the reason I'm in Wales today is because one of the friends that he was an apprentice jockey with in Newmarket was called Taffy. That is the only reason I'm in Wales. And Taffy, his mother lived in Caerphilly. So we came over here in 2005. Then we broke up. I was working in a bookies in Macon. I say I was working in there. Every penny I made, I just used to gamble again through the machines and bet on horses. It was, I think I've got a problem with everything, basically. But anyway, so I saw this advert in the paper, Kaleidoscope, methadone dispenser, rang my friend who'd known me before I used and after I used. And I said, look, I've seen this job, but I don't know whether to go for it, but I really want to go and help other people. I said, the only thing is, right? I said, shall I put on the form that I used drugs? And she said, yes, you've got fuck all else to put in there. Because I didn't. From the age of 18 till
that is
the
the
age
experience
of
you need in
31.
this type of job, though. That was the best kind of,
Because there's a massive gap
experience
in
you
my
got.
CV. There's a gap in your CV. And we've got to
100%.
explain that. So when people like us go for jobs, they always ask you.
No, but going for that job, though, is what I'm saying is you wouldn't want to hide the gap in that because that experience you've had was perfect for that job.
At that time that this field welcomed that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, what if they know?
Yeah, I know from speaking to you,
now,
but you didn't.
Things are different.
You're one of the first, like.
Yeah. So I remember going for the interview and Martin was there on the interview
Shout
panel.
out Martin.
Shout out Martin.
Yeah.
And a lady called Sian Chicken. That is really her
Sian
name.
Chicken as well.
And so they're interviewing me and it got to the point where they said, it says on your application that you use drugs. Can you talk about that? And I was like, oh, because I really thought genuinely that when I started talking, they'd go, you can't dispense methadone, get out.
Yeah.
So, and I remember sweating and I was like, and my voice went all high pitched for some reason. I was like, yes, I used heroin and crack cocaine and nothing, no like judgment, no. And I remember Martin looking at me saying, have you ever had methadone? And I was like, yeah, I was on scripts. I was on scripts in London. And then I think the last question they asked me, because they're both football fans, Martin and Sian, and I think this is genuinely what got me the job, right? They said, oh, on your application form, it says you enjoy Champions League football. This was Martin. Can I ask you what team you support? And I went, what team is it? I said, Liverpool. And Sian was like that, yes!
He's a big Chelsea fan, isn't he?
He's a massive Chelsea fan. But yeah, no, joking aside, it was probably my experience that got the job. So yeah, I started, I dispensed methadone, and then I just worked my way out. And I think what I do is I take old skills, right? I can scam money out of it. I used to be able to scam money out of anyone, right? But I do that legally now. And I do that through writing bids. So I will write, we need this money to help this cohort of people, and I do it quite persuasively because, but now all my efforts is in making change for as many people as I can. And my most favorite thing is finding gems like you and bringing you on and giving you that foot on that ladder, because you'll run the rest of the way up yourself. You don't need me anymore. You need that foot up the ladder. And I've done that with Tommy. I've done that with Mywin. I've done that with a girl called Chloe. My biggest buzz now is
Scouting
finding,
talent.
it's scouting people who have had that lived experience that I look at and I think, you'd be amazing in that role. And it will be good for you, because it really is good for your recovery working in this field.
Well, it has been a massive help. Something to concentrate on, something I want to do, and you have been a massive inspiration to me, Rond. I know I haven't known you long, but it's been a pleasure meeting you. And do you know what? Like, I'll get emotional, but I think this has just been one of the best episodes.
I reckon.
Top.
Honestly, I swear to God, this has been the best episode.
And we haven't even gone into what you
So
do really
interesting.
to help people. And I think you've got other things you could talk about, which we would love if we could get you down again and do a part 2. And I'm sure everyone who will watch this will think the same thing. People will probably be upset that we're going to call it, because
but
it's just flown.
One condition.
Yeah.
Next time, I need snacks. Yeah.
Oh,
What kind of
we'll
a
have to
show
get
is
the
this? I
fruit.
need some
We'll get.
snacks.
Do you know what? I'm so sorry. I got to plug it as well. We got to get exotic fruits down next time, because you are an exotic person.
Well, I know.
Alex, shouting exotic fruits for dropping us the fruit down the
Or a
last 2
couple of
times.
Boss Man sweets. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah,
seeing
that's
that.
for you.
Boss
You bring
Man,
him down.
He's
I
in
know.
Newport. He's from Newport.
I know. I've been in a shop. I spent like 30 quid
I
Shut
know.
up.
We will.
on one chocolate. No, that's a
We'll
joke.
get some Boss Man
Yeah,
sweets
expect-
down here. We'll get exotic fruits down here. We'll get a re-inspired Central Club hat for you. And we'll do it again. Before we go, though, I've got a couple of what you rather questions I want to
go on.
ask you. They're just light-hearted. So, you lived in both Italy or Kenya.
Oh, Kenya.
Reason for that?
Oh, it's just the nicer. Everyone there is so laid back, happy. The people have abject poverty, right? And they never complain. They're
Never
just
complain.
always smiling.
I love.
Okay. Big Liverpool fan. I know
Yeah.
which one you're going to say, because you always WhatsApp me in, but
Right.
who'd you prefer, Gerrard or Van Dijk? Look, she's getting nervous.
Such a hard one.
Oh, I thought you was going to say straight.
Well, for obvious reasons, big Verge. I don't know. But actually, no, both. Going into a Champions League final, you'd want Stevie G there,
Yeah.
wouldn't you? I can't call
All right,
it.
let's narrow
Both.
it down. Who would you prefer to bed, Van Dijk or Gerrard?
Oh, God.
I knew she'd say Van Dijk.
He's just chocolate, isn't he? He's just chocolate. Actually, can you buy me a cardboard cutout of him?
I will bring him
All right.
next time.
All right.
Re-inspire printing.
Okay, then. So you was a swimmer, yeah?
Yeah.
So which is your best swimming move? Is it a breaststroke or a butterfly?
Actually, I held the 50-meter record for breaststroke.
Okay,
Wow.
fair
Yeah.
play.
What, in Kenya?
Yeah.
What? That's mad.
See,
That's
that's why I
amazing.
got big guns.
Yo, show the camera. Show them cameras, them
Boom.
bad boys. Wow.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with Rondine. Okay. Yeah. You've been at both. Which one was the best? Or I know what you're gonna say anyway. But what's best for recovery? Rehab or prison?
Oh, Christ, rehab.
I agree with you 100%. I think everyone who's been in addiction does
You
as
can
well.
get
But the
drugs in
government
prison.
don't.
So
Just
what's
don't
the
make
point?
sense. No, but there's not enough rehabs out there. Now, I think the only rehabs that they have got are like more religious
No,
ones.
no.
No, it's not true.
There's lots of really good
And you've got the
detox and
Wirral.
rehab units in England.
In England, not Wales.
In Wales, there's one in Half and Wen in
Okay.
North Wales. Shout out to Half and Wen. It's a good detox unit. But you've got to be funded by the local authority.
Okay.
And it's quite costly. I think if I had a magic bag of money, I would just fund rehab and detox placements. Because I think for a lot of us, you've got to
TFO.
get out of your environment, you've got to be locked away, and you've got to just reignite yourself. You've got to rebuild yourself.
Okay. All right. And then these two, we ask everyone. So if you could explore one of these, what would it be? Deep sea or deep space?
Deep space, I hate the sea.
Everyone says
Everyone
that.
says the same thing.
I would really like to do the sea. If
No.
maybe I could
It's quiet. It's dark. It's scary.
Yeah,
I
It is
think
scary.
space is too.
I think it's deep space. Like that. It's just
Yeah,
it puts
it's
a bad picture in your head, don't it?
I think
Are
with
you
Sea. lol.
flat Earth or round Earth?
What?
Flat Earth or round Earth?
Oh, round.
Okay.
I don't wear a tin hat either.
Neither do I.
I know. I've heard about you.
yeah.
You are mild or a spice?
Spice.
Okay. And if you could have 2 superpowers, one for yourself and one for humanity, what would they be?
Oh God. If it was for myself, to be invisible and go and spy on people and hear what people are saying about you.
Yeah.
If it was for humanity, I don't know. Just I don't know. I
give me one.
don't know.
Just
What?
to help anyone, was it? Cure.
Cancer.
Rondine, it's been a pleasure. We'll get you down again very soon for a part 2. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Stay central.
Shout out. Yeah,
Stay central.
Boom.
The Central Club.